okay, Veterans Day today, and as a tribute to veterans everywhere. You've told the story before. Mm-hmm. And like Marty said, like my boy Marty said, you never get tired of hearing this story. Because your father is so symbolic of all veterans of all wars. Not necessarily just of all veterans who have served in any branch.
Mm-hmm. My family thanks you for saying that. That's very sweet. My father was 19 when World War II, when he decided he was going to enlist in the Marines. Quickly was shipped to San Diego for quick boot camp. It was an abbreviated version. And then was immediately shipped to the Pacific, to the South Pacific.
How old? 19, a year out of high school.
Mm-hmm. He was an only child. He lost his mother when he was 7. So he grew up with his father, who was the town barber in Gulfport, Mississippi. So it was he and his daddy, and he had a nanny. So that was kind of his surrogate. It was he and his dad. He was an only child. He went off. Okay. He's in the Pacific. He's in the 6th Marine Division. They were at the Solomon Islands. They had some other stops, but the big battle that he was involved in was Okinawa.
I mentioned when we talked about this in the 6 o'clock hour, the new Clint Eastwood movie called Hacksaw Ridge with Andrew Garfield. That is a movie about that part of the war.
I'm going to watch that this weekend. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to probably go alone because I don't want to share that moment with anyone.
I get that.
Isn't that silly? But
no,
that's how I feel. But my dad, as a young 19-year-old Marine, was in many, many heavy, brutal battles at Okinawa, and they're in foxholes. That's what they were kind of living in and sleeping in.
Trenches, water-filled trenches.
That they dug themselves pretty much for the most part. And you slept sitting up, kind of leaned back, kind of a little bit in a reclining position.
And during the day, I guess the temperature during the day is like, imagine Louisiana in the summertime.
You think we have mosquitoes. You go spend a little time in Okinawa. So they're taking fire, heavy fire. Marines are getting killed and wounded right and left. My dad spent the better part of 2 days running into enemy fire and pulling wounded Marines out.
Now, he won the Bronze Star for this.
He won the Bronze Star for his efforts.
Pardon me. So literally, we're talking about opposing sides, the Americans, the Marines, and the Japanese infantry.
Yes.
The distance, 20 yards from us to the coffee machine.
Yeah.
And shooting at each other. And your dad is crawling, running, putting men on his back.
Pulling them out.
Carrying them back to the safety of the American trenches.
Mm-hmm. And after doing that, he volunteered for what was guard duty, where you had to stay up all night and make sure that the enemies doesn't come into your area. And one night particularly, and I'll make this quick, one night in particular, they hear them coming. There's probably 4 of these guys on guard duty, and they hear Japanese soldiers coming. They know it's kind of a big group. So they just opened fire on them. And then the guys stopped coming. So they thought, okay, well, we'll just hunker down, stay where we are instead of retreating. And then my father hears moaning, just moaning for the whole night. All night he hears a man moaning. They're not coming toward him. It's not getting closer. But then he gets up in the morning when he can see, and he walks over toward him about 25 yards away, and he sees that this Japanese major has died. He has killed a Japanese major, and realizes that when they killed the major or shot the major, the rest of the Japanese troops retreated and decided, we're not going in. They just killed our boss.
Now, we've got about a minute. This is something that you found out through the official Pentagon, through the official commendation, not something that your dad ever said, here's what I did in the war. You didn't really know the details of the rescues.
No.
You didn't know the details of the horrific fighting and the battle that you just described.
My father never talked about it. My father came home, met the love of his life, and was a great dad, and had raised 6 children, and was, he was my hero. He was my hero just because he was such a great dad. But then when you read the commendation that's written by the Secretary of Defense, and you look at it and you think, Wow, he's more than just my hero.
Who was that guy?
Yeah. I mean, he was gregarious. He was a pat him on the back. Any of my friends who would come in, he would say, "How's your corporation seem to be gashuating upon the high corners today, sir?" I'll never forget it. Everybody he greeted that way. He was just a friendly, fun-loving guy. But yet when he was 19, he faced death. Death, literally, head on, and he manned up. And he saved lives. And he saved lives with no regard for his own life. That is a hero. That is somebody that our country should be proud of. Those are people we should salute and cherish and honor on this Veterans Day. And you made me tear up again.
I'm such a butt.